She ghosted me for her ex, then came back expecting a wedding, but I had other plans. You're still going through with the wedding, right? That's what Emily asked me. After ghosting me for 3 weeks, after I'd caught her reconnecting with her ex on Instagram during our so-called break, and she had the nerve to ask it while standing in our kitchen like she still lived here, like nothing had happened. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her, dumbfounded. She had on one of my old hoodies, the navy one she used to sleep in when we first moved in together. That detail punched me in the chest harder than I expected. Because now, I couldn't tell if she wore it out of habit or if it was a calculated move. One more manipulation in a long list of them I hadn't seen until it was too late. The last time I saw Emily before this little reappearance, we were taking a break. Her words, not mine. We were 2 months away from our wedding. Invites were out. Deposits paid. My best man had already booked the fishing trip in Lake Huron for the bachelor weekend. But Emily said she needed space to clear her head, and I was stupid enough to believe that meant time apart. Not time with Brandon. Yeah. Brandon, her college ex, the guy she couldn't stand because he never supported her photography dreams. The guy she once said made her feel like a side character in her own life. That Brandon. The one she started tagging in stories a week after our break started. At first, I told myself I was paranoid, that it was just old friends catching up. Then I saw a picture, her in a sunflower field, wide grin, Brandon's unmistakable man bun in the corner of the frame. She didn't even bother to hide him. That's when it all clicked. I didn't blow up her phone. I didn't confront her. I just went quiet, waited, let her think I'd moved on, that she had the upper hand. And now here she was, walking into our shared apartment like a ghost who never died. Like the last 3 weeks hadn't been radio silence. Like she hadn't left me drowning in unanswered texts and unreturned calls. I thought we could pick up where we left off, she said casually, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked one simple question. Did you sleep with him? She didn't flinch. That somehow hurt more than a yes. She just looked at me, eyes flicking to the kitchen counter where our wedding binder still Saturday. It was a break, Noah. You said yourself, no rules, remember? That wasn't an answer, but it was all I needed. I nodded, walked past her, picked up my keys. My truck was waiting downstairs. Our golden retriever, Max, already sitting in the passenger seat like he could smell the storm coming. I turned to her one last time. Do you still want to get married? She blinked. Of course I do. Why else would I come back? That's when it hit me. She really thought I'd just roll over and take her back. That I'd still walk down the aisle like nothing happened. But I had other plans. Plans she never saw coming. After I left Emily standing in that kitchen, I drove for an hour with no destination in mind. Max kept shifting in the seat beside me, like he could tell I wasn't okay. I ended up parked outside an old diner off Highway 3, the kind of place that still had neon signs and pie specials written on chalkboards. I didn't go inside. I just sat there, watching the reflection of my own face in the windshield, wondering when I'd stopped recognizing myself. 3 weeks ago, I was a man about to get married. Confident, steady, a mechanical engineer with a boring car, a mortgage on a fixer-upper, and a fiancée who used to take candid Polaroids of me while I mowed the lawn because she said the world needed more husband material. Now, I felt like an idiot in a rom-com where the punchline was just me, alone in a truck. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. I know this is hard. Can we talk later tonight? Maybe we go over honeymoon stuff. Honeymoon stuff, right? Like she hadn't just detoured through her ex's bed before returning to mine. I didn't answer. Instead, I scrolled through our wedding Google Doc, the one we'd made together, color-coded tabs for seating charts, playlists, vendor receipts. It looked so organized, so hopeful. Every note a little love letter from a version of us that no longer existed. Then I remembered something. A conversation I'd had with my buddy Marcus the night before Emily asked for a break. We were sitting on my porch drinking beers. Max curled up at our feet, and he'd said, Man, are you sure she's all in? You seem, I don't know, uneven lately. I'd brushed him off. She's stressed. Planning a wedding is intense. He gave me a look. That's not stress, dude. That's someone already halfway out the door. And just like that, all the little moments I ignored started playing on loop. The way Emily stopped holding my hand in public. How she began correcting me in front of friends like I was a toddler. The random new lingerie she said was just for fun, but never wore around me. It had all been there. I just didn't want to see it. Now I had a choice. I could play the part. Pretend we were still the couple on those RSVP cards. Or I could dig deeper. Look past the betrayal and figure out who I was without her. And what she really came back for. Because something about her timing felt off. Too convenient. And I had a feeling this wasn't just about love. It was about leverage. Appearances. A wedding she wanted to walk into for reasons that had nothing to do with me. So I asked myself, what would happen if I played along? Just for a little while? Not out of love, but to take control. That night, I told her she could stay. She acted surprised, too surprised. Like she hadn't even considered the possibility that I might take her back. Or maybe she thought I'd make it harder. Throw her out. Make a scene. I didn't. I told her calmly she could sleep in the guest room until we figured things out. She nodded, eyes searching my face like she was trying to gauge how much I knew. I gave her nothing. Just a small, tired smile and said, "We've got a lot to talk about, Em. But I'm not going to make any rash decisions." She looked relieved, grateful. I almost threw up. While she unpacked, I sat in my garage with Max curled at my feet, scrolling through Venmo receipts and credit card statements. I wasn't looking for proof of the affair. I already knew. I was looking for patterns. Payments to hotels. Lyft rides across town. A few new charges from a boutique I didn't recognize. She was smarter than I gave her credit for. But not smart enough. See, Emily didn't know I'd already removed her from the joint savings account 2 weeks into our break. I didn't tell her. I just did it. She hadn't contributed to it in months anyway. And I wasn't about to fund a honeymoon with the guy who used to call her babe back when she thought I wasn't looking. The next morning, I told her we should start reconnecting. We could meet with the pastor again. Maybe go through our vows. Get back to the root of us. I said, voice warm and steady like I wasn't bleeding underneath. She beamed. That sounds perfect. It wasn't about her anymore. Not really. It was about watching someone show me exactly who they were and not flinching when they did. I started changing passwords. Quietly moved half my stuff into a storage unit. Left our wedding photographer a polite message saying we were considering postponing. When she followed up, I told her to wait 2 weeks before making any changes. I had a hunch I'd need that buffer. I didn't tell anyone what was happening. Not Marcus. Not my sister, who'd always hated Emily and would have gone full nuclear the second she found out. No, I needed silence. Control. Surprise. And deep down, I needed to know if I was capable of doing something other than folding. Then came the moment that sealed it. 3 days after she moved back in, I came home early. Emily didn't hear me walk in. She was in the living room on a call. I caught the tail end of it. No, I'm not going to tell him. He's got money. We're almost there. Almost there. That was all I needed to hear. I backed out quietly, drove to a coffee shop, and sat there until I stopped shaking. That wasn't love talking. That wasn't regret. That was strategy. So now, I had a new question to answer. If she's playing a part, why shouldn't I? Emily threw us an engagement party. Correction. She planned an engagement party using my contacts, my house, and my money, and let everyone think it was her way of rebuilding trust. The kicker? She invited Brandon. Swore up and down it was just to prove there's nothing between them. I smiled through it, greeted guests, shook hands, even clinked champagne glasses with Brandon, who wore that smug, unbothered smirk like he'd never stolen someone's future. You're a lucky man, he said, his grip firm. Emily's one of a kind. I leaned in, kept my voice low. You ever wonder how many times she told both of us that? His smile twitched. Good. Later, I found him alone on the back deck, nursing a beer and texting someone. I didn't have to look to know who. Emily had disappeared 10 minutes earlier, saying she had to grab the guest book. I waited. She didn't come back. Neither did he. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Whatever she was still doing with him, I'd already filed under reasons she won't see the wedding coming. The party rolled on. People congratulated us, took selfies, tagged us in stories. Emily looked radiant in her white cocktail dress, glowing like the perfect bride-to-be. I stood beside her, smiling on cue, making mental notes the whole time. Who brought gifts? Who asked the hard questions? Who looked at me like they could tell something wasn't right? By the end of the night, I had a list in my head. Not enemies. Just future witnesses. As guests filtered out, Emily leaned against the kitchen counter, flushed with wine and victory. That went well, right? I nodded. Really well. She kissed me, slow and theatrical, like she knew people were still watching from the driveway. And in that moment, I realized she'd already convinced herself this was working. That whatever cracks she'd caused had sealed themselves with enough glitter and photos. That made her dangerous. And me? I was done waiting. The first real shift happened when I changed the locks on my office door. It was small, easy to brush off, but Emily noticed. Hey, she said one night, standing just outside the newly locked door with a bowl of microwave popcorn. Why's this locked now? I shrugged, not looking up from my laptop. Work files. NDA stuff. You know how it is. She gave a little laugh, but it didn't reach her eyes. You never locked it before. I met her gaze, kept my voice neutral. Well, I never had to before. That hung there longer than it should have. The next day, she started doing little recon missions around the house. Checking drawers, my nightstand, the coat closet. She'd never been subtle, but now she was downright clumsy, leaving things half open, always moving just one item out of place. I didn't say a word. Instead, I bought a safe. Just to watch her flinch when it arrived. I had already begun making quiet preparations. Pulled my name from the wedding venue contract, told them a clerical error had listed me as the sole signee. Transferred my checking account to a new bank. Stashed printed screenshots of every suspicious Venmo and text thread she didn't delete fast enough into a folder labeled tax stuff. Emily, meanwhile, tried doubling down on domestic bliss. She made breakfast more often, tried to cuddle at night, started calling me babe again like she could conjure back the version of me who hadn't woken up yet. But I was already miles ahead. Then came the question I knew was coming. We should send the final deposit to the florist this week, she said over dinner one night. They need confirmation. I looked up from my plate. Remind me whose card is on file for that? She blinked. Yours. Why? I tilted my head. Just wondering why I'm the only one paying for something you didn't even bother to be honest about. Silence. Then the defensiveness. Are we still doing this? I told you it was a break. I made a mistake. I put my fork down gently. A mistake is a one-night lapse. What you did was a mini vacation with your ex. Her mouth opened, but I cut her off with one finger raised. And now you want a wedding, a honeymoon, and a fresh start like you earned it. So let me be clear, Em, if you want this wedding, you'd better hope you're more convincing in front of everyone else than you've been with me. I stood, left the rest of dinner untouched. That night, I heard her crying in the bathroom. And I didn't go in. Emily started asking questions I'd been waiting for. Are you still in this? She whispered one night, curled up beside me like old times, her fingers tracing a slow pattern on my chest. I stared at the ceiling. I guess that depends. On what? Her voice cracked, just slightly. On whether you're still lying to me. She stiffened just for a second. Then the performance kicked back in soft voice, teary eyes, hands on mine. I'm not. I swear, I'm trying. I love you, Noah. I nodded once, then reached into the drawer and pulled out a piece of mail. Tossed it on the bed between us. A letter from my lawyer. Unopened. Unmistakable. She stared at it like it might bite her. You filed? She whispered. No. Not yet. She looked up at me stunned. Then what is this? Insurance, I said flatly. Just in case you think I'm bluffing. Emily didn't cry then. She didn't yell either. She just got up and left the room silent. The next morning, the engagement photo she'd taped to the fridge was gone. So was the RSVP binder. But the dress was still in the closet. It was the beginning of the end. I could feel it in the way she stopped making small talk. And how she hovered near my phone when she thought I wasn't looking. In the way she flinched when I mentioned my sister was coming to visit. Because my sister, Nina, doesn't play nice. And Emily knows that. When Nina arrived, she hugged me tight and whispered, "You good?" I nodded. She pulled back, raised an eyebrow. Good, because if I even smell fake forgiveness in that chick's breath, I swear I'll flip a table. Emily tried to be civil. But she couldn't fake her way through Nina's glare. Couldn't stomach the way Nina looked at her like she already knew everything. And that was the point. Later that night, after Nina went to bed, Emily cornered me. "I can't live like this," she hissed. "You've turned our life into a game of chicken. What do you even want from me?" I stepped closer, calm. "I want you to wonder if I'm leaving every single day. Just like I wondered if you'd come home at all." That shut her up. And in that silence, I knew we were close. One more trigger. One more move. And the whole thing would collapse. 2 weeks before the wedding date, the calls started. First the florist. Then the caterer. Then the venue. Each one politely confirming that Emily had just tried to update their records. Names, addresses, billing info. But it was too late, because I had already canceled everything. Quietly, legally, logged into every portal we'd used, attached a notarized letter and pulled the plug. Not out of spite, but because I knew she wouldn't do it herself. She needed the illusion. I was done handing it to her. I didn't tell her right away. I let her keep pretending. Kept letting her parade around with our final guest list. Grinning as she circled people who didn't even know she existed 6 months ago. She made a TikTok about wedding stress that got a few thousand likes. I watched it, blank-faced, from the garage. She wasn't planning a wedding. She was staging a comeback. And I was about to close the curtain. I chose the moment carefully. On a Sunday afternoon, while she was FaceTiming her sister, showing off the monogrammed napkins she'd ordered. I stepped in, held up my phone. "Hey, quick update. Might want to cancel those." She blinked, confused. "What?" I tilted the screen so she could see the email. "Event cancellation confirmed. Full refund processed." Her face dropped. Her sister's voice crackled through the phone. "Wait. What's happening?" Emily slowly lowered the phone, her hand shaking. You canceled it?" I nodded. 2 weeks ago. Figured it was time to stop pretending. You can't just, why would you do that? We agreed to move forward." I took a deep breath, steadied myself. "No, you agreed to pretend long enough to save face. I agreed to let you dig your own grave." She stepped toward me, voice rising. "Do you know how many people are expecting this wedding? What are we supposed to tell them?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "Tell them the truth. That you couldn't keep your ex out of your life long enough to keep a future with me in it." And then I walked out the door. She didn't go quiet. I didn't expect her to. 2 hours after I walked out, she was blowing up my phone. Calls, texts, voice notes, even a half-baked email with the subject line, "Please reconsider." It was like watching someone try to plug holes in a sinking ship with glitter glue. I ignored them, until she sent the one that made me laugh out loud. A photo of her in the wedding dress, standing in the full-length mirror in our bedroom, captioned, "I still want this." My reply, "You still want the fantasy. I've already started living the truth." That night I called Marcus, told him everything. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "So what now? You disappear." "No," I said. "I show up." He laughed. "You're planning a revenge move?" "Not revenge. A reveal." I spent the next 3 days assembling everything: screenshots, financial logs, call records. I didn't want revenge porn or screaming matches. I wanted facts, clean break, and one last gesture no one would forget. I sent out an email to every invitee on our wedding list. Subject line, "The wedding is off, but here's what you should know." Inside was a short, clear message. "To those we invited in good faith, the wedding between Noah Parker and Emily Grant will not take place. The reasons are personal, but they are also factual. I've attached a timeline of events that led to this decision. You may read it or delete it, but either way, I want you to understand why silence wasn't an option. This is not a plea for sympathy. It's a boundary. Noah." I didn't dramatize anything, just laid out what happened. Her leaving, Brandon, the 3-week silence, the false reconciliation, and most importantly, how she planned to marry me anyway, because the appearance of happiness mattered more to her than the reality of betrayal. Some people unsubscribed immediately. Others replied with awkward apologies or stunned support. But the best part? Brandon's mom responded. 3 words, "I am so sorry." That's when I knew it landed. Emily, on the other hand, she went nuclear. Stormed into my work parking lot the next day, mascara streaked and shaking with fury. "You humiliated me," she spat. "No," I said calmly. "You did that. I just let people know where the spotlight should have been." She raised her hand to slap me. I didn't flinch. "I'm done giving you an audience," I said. Then I turned and walked away. A week passed. The world didn't explode. The sky didn't fall. Emily disappeared from social media. No more pastel flat lays of napkin rings or blessed fiancé hashtags. Friends stopped asking awkward questions. Family stopped dancing around the topic. It was over, but not in a satisfying, cinematic kind of way. There was no final confrontation, no last cruel insult. Just a silence that settled over everything like snow. And that was perfect. I didn't burn her dress. I didn't sell the ring online with some bitter caption. I boxed it all up, every piece of the fake future she built, and mailed it to her parents' house with a note. "Here's everything you wanted. I'm keeping what matters, my peace." A few days later, I got a letter. Not from her. From Brandon. Typed. Formal. Like he thought he was in court or something. He said he was sorry. That it was never supposed to get that far. That he didn't realize how serious we were until it was too late. I laughed. Then I crumpled it and fed it to the shredder. But buried at the bottom of the envelope, written in pen, was one line he didn't intend to include. "She told me it was always about the wedding. Not you." That was it. That was the last little puzzle piece I didn't know I needed. It was never about love. Never about partnership. Emily wanted the applause. The optics. The milestone photos. She wanted the event. I was just the prop. And props don't get happy endings. They just get packed away once the show ends. But I wasn't angry anymore. Not even numb. Just clear. I took Max up to Traverse Bay, rented a cabin with no Wi-Fi, and watched the snow fall for a weekend straight. Chopped wood. Read books. Didn't check my phone once. And for the first time in what felt like a year, I slept through the night. No dreams. No dread. Just the sound of quiet. Update. It's been 5 months. Emily's engaged again. To a mortgage broker she met at a fundraiser. I heard through mutuals that she's planning another wedding destination this time. I wish him luck. I really do. As for me, I met someone. Her name's Leah. She drives a rusted Subaru, teaches high school chemistry, and once beat me at darts using her non-dominant hand while humming Billie Eilish. We're not in love. Not yet. But we laugh a lot. And when she looks at me, I don't feel like a prop. I feel like a person. And that's more than enough for now. Some endings don't come with fireworks or revenge. Just peace. And peace is louder than anything I could have screamed.